Welcome to the Tamworth FC Social, a podcast all about Tamworth Football Club. I'm Jonathan and I'm joined by Brett and Graham. And there is only really one place we can possibly start, Brett, is that glorious, glorious win over Burton in the FA Cup. Now you've had a few days to digest. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm still not over the whole weekend, to be honest with you. It's just been an absolute dream. Great game, great atmosphere, great result, great draw, great plaudits for the podcast, and obviously great bit of media coverage that we've had as well for the club and the pod. So I think if we could have planned or drew out this weekend ourselves, we wouldn't have been able to make it any better than what it has been. So yeah, so good. Just keep thinking about that look that Jadson gave after the first save. Is it's quality, so good.
What about you, Graham? I mean, this feels a little bit like an FA Cup run of 15, 20 years ago in terms of obviously the Burton factor and, a giant killing or two.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it almost feels better. That's quite a long time, obviously, ago now. But I think from I think the last one was the Everton one in terms of when we got a little bit further. But I mean, this is like just thinking earlier, like this is incredible. We play our old rivals who we've not played in a competitive game for over 15 years. On their patch, the two leagues above us, they've had God knows sort of like how much success in the last 15 years. They've been up to the championship, and now like it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. Just don't think you could have written a better script, really. And I kind of, when it went to extra time and we got that equaliser, you thought, yeah, we're going to do this now. Because you just knew that when we got to penalties, they were going to bottle it, really, with them being at home. We've had such poor run of form. We got nothing to lose, really, by that point anyway. So, yeah, it's fantastic. And then to obviously get the draw that we did against Spurs and all the coverage that's come around that, and yeah, and all the excitement, the buzz. Oh, it's something else, really. It's very, very surreal. But to get a Spurs, it's definitely going to be the biggest game of our history in terms of who we're playing. I suppose not necessarily what's at stake, but yeah, in terms of who we're playing, it's definitely our biggest game in our history. And I do hope Spurs bring a good team, so we can see a couple of stars there. But yeah, I mean, what a week, and it's just another thing to add to um, the brilliant sort of can't think of the word, but yeah, just the brilliantness of Andy Peaks and what he's done over the last 2.5 years.
Inventing words, Graham, that's how excited you are.
Yeah, I'm just speechless, to be honest.
We were at the Beach Hotel pub in Burton, and you just looked around, and it was a who's who. Like, I could have named 60, 70 people that I knew there, some of which I know haven't been down there for many years. You know, guys, we talked about people who we went to school with, who have had a passing interest over the years and probably haven't been well, forever, really. Everyone was there. There's people that I know who have become disillusioned with the club over the years, and then they were at the game like that. Um, that kind of does two things, doesn't it? Sometimes it builds that bit of resentment as a kind of, well, where are you every week, or where were you the last 3 years? But then equally, you need these games for people to fall back in love with the club. You need these kind of runs. You know, it's for the kids as well. You know, you look on the little TikTok video that was going around of the kids at the front when the draw came out. I mean, yeah, right, they were singing "Tottenham get battered," but that's the next generation. 30 years time, we want them to be ploughing their money into the club, and like they're the ones that are going to keep this club going. And this is exactly why these kind of games and runs are important.
Kind of, I suppose, cut run that probably Brett would have cemented your love for the club as well. Nearly 2 decades ago as well.
Absolutely, it's exactly. You think back to Stoke away and at home. Probably if we hadn't have had those games, that year in particular was pretty uneventful. So probably give that another year or so. Had we not also had Norwich, I'd have probably got a bit fed up and just started doing something else with the little bit of money that I had at the time, because that's what kids do.
I'm sort of not sure, Brett, how we sort of rank Spurs. I mean, I presume Everton is the kind of, the contender, I suppose, for if Spurs isn't the biggest game or best team that Tamworth will have played, it's probably Everton is the other contender. Everton weren't in Europe when Tamworth played in the FA Cup that season. Spurs are in this season. They're in the Europa League. So, I mean, for me, that gives it a bit of extra kind of razzle dazzle, because you think, well, you're playing a team that is playing in Europe at the Lamb, which is just incredible. Spurs are probably a bigger, in inverted commas, club now than Everton were. And I fully appreciate Everton are a huge club in English football, but where do you stand on it, Brad? Do you think Spurs is a bigger or better team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to offend anyone other than Everton fans, really. But Spurs are a bigger team than Everton. I'm undecided whether this is the biggest game in the club's history. It's probably, I think the VAR's probably still just about shades it, for the simple fact that you had to play a lot of knockout football to get there, and it ended in Wembley. Probably if this was away, then maybe that would have shaded the VAR's just. But yeah, it's definitely bigger than Everton, 100%.
Something, Graham, I've been saying, like people who've messaged me, like since the cup draw, particularly, kind of like emphasizing, well, this isn't like anything brand new for Tamworth. Like I feel like they have got a bit of a cup pedigree. With the Everton game, with the Norwich game, with the Stoke game, even I suppose to an extent with the year Tamworth beat like Crewe when they played Bristol City as well. It's kind of, I suppose, recent history. It's something of a semi-regular occurrence. Obviously, in the grand scheme of the club history, it is relatively, rare, but this is something that Tamworth are known for.
Yeah, 100%. And just go back to what Brett said as well about just getting people down there who might not have been down there in a good long while. And then a game like this crops up, and I suppose if like a Villa's away or something like that, or Birmingham City, etc., then people tend to come down. But yeah, I think like for me, the first game that I ever saw was an FA Cup game, FA Cup first round tie, and I think it really, even now, that's going back to like 1998. So even now, if you're a kid and you're going to this game or the Burton game, just that whole kind of euphoria and all of the stuff around it, it'll grab people in and they'll come back in. So I think it's really important. And it's a good point that Brett raised.
I mean, the possibilities from this game a lot. They're endless, aren't they, really? It's probably going to be on the TV. I remember when we played Stoke and we had a really big sponsored the Lamb, all the shirts, the hoardings, absolutely everything, the programme. So the amount of money that would have generated at the time, it's just a real shame it's not away. People are talking about the time when Tottenham played Marine in the FA Cup a couple of years ago, that Tottenham actually did e-tickets for £10 for Tottenham supporters to purchase, just to help raise a bit more money for Marine. However, the difference is obviously at the time that was during COVID, so I'm not really sure. I mean, who knows? What is refreshing is I have seen quite a lot of Tottenham fans online saying how they appreciate how big the draw is for us and how important the game is. I've not really seen any kind of disrespect, which is nice. I think, to your point, John, we are a very, very good cup team, and I think we probably have been since '89. So I think Spurs, given the history that they've got as well, the first non-league club to win the FA Cup, they will more than appreciate the fact that they're coming to the lowest ranked team in the competition. And it could well be a really difficult day for them.
If we do somehow win, pull off the unexpected, is that the greatest ever FA Cup shot there's ever been?
I mean, so United
Always.
will argue not, won't they? They'll argue that their win against Coventry was bigger.
A certain win over Coventry was 1989, so it was 2 seasons after Coventry won the FA Cup. Coventry was still a very, very well-established top-flight team.
Arguably, Tottenham are a bigger club now than Coventry.
Wrexham beat Arsenal in the early 90s, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It would be up there, wouldn't it? It would surely, if they do win, it would surely be in like top 5.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely top 10. I think top 5 in terms of like greatest ever shocks. And I thought, if there's one team that's going to do this, I feel like it could be this Tamworth team.
That's all for this episode of the Tamworth FC Social. Thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. If you enjoy the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this episode a like. Until next time, goodbye.